We are back with another book review, and this time we're going to take it back to a book that was produced, like the first book was produced in 2009. Hey, and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Tanae, and I like to review things. In today's video, we are going to be reviewing the Hush Hush series by Becca Fitzpatrick. I read this book series back in 2014 when my son was really little, before I had my daughter, but then I just recently reread the whole entire series, and it was like I'd never read it before because I had forgotten how much happened in these books. So these books are young romance, so if you have a teen that is looking for a good book series, I recommend this for them. Or if you like young romance, even as an adult, I love young romance. I just like romance. These are very, very good books. I highly recommend reading these books. They're really good. So like I said, we're kind of taking it back because the first book was produced in 2009. Then I believe the second book followed in 2010, 2011, and then 2012 is when these books were released to the public. Like I said, I think I read them in 2014, and I honestly just happened across them. My sister-in-law they were going through stuff like a storage unit of some sort, and she came across a bunch of different books that were in there, and this was part of that series, and so I was able to read it from there. She just brought it here. I thought the picture was catchy, and so I decided to just give it a try, and that's how I read the book. That's how I got onto it. Nobody recommended it. I didn't see it on anything. It just fell into my lap, basically. But I'm so glad I did because it was so good. And I remember when I read it in the past that I really, really liked this series. But I really forgot everything that happened. I mean, that was almost like 10 years ago, if you think about it. Well, maybe not 10, but like 8 years ago. So I reread the series. What inspired me to reread the series is I just got done reading the Twilight Series. Stephanie Meyer's came out with Midnight Sun, and I wanted to read it. So I had purchased that book. I kept it for a while. And then finally I was like, I miss reading. I need to get back to reading, so we're going to read it. So I read Midnight Sun, then I decided to reread the Hush Hush series. And so that is what I did. And I loved it. Took me a little while to get through Hush Hush. I loved it. I'm going to kind of give you guys a rundown, and then I will let you know when I'm going to go a little bit more into detail where there might be spoilers and such. So basically, the story follows a young girl named Nora. She's in high school. She's really, really smart. She did lose her father in a very tragic way, so it kind of follows her. And then in her biology class, she gets paired up with Patch, who is another high school student there with her, kind of the mysterious guy. Doesn't know a lot about him, but definitely has an attraction towards him. And so they kind of hook up. She feels like she should be scared of him, that she should stay away from him, but yet she still can't help but be drawn towards him. And so the first book just goes on and talks about that. It kind of brings those two characters together, and you get to know them. Now, her best friend is V, so you also get to learn about V. You hear about V quite a bit in this book. What I really like about these books is there's a lot of mystery, there's a lot going on, and so there's a lot of adventure, and Nora is always going out there. She always seems to find trouble, but she's always going out and solving these different mysteries that are happening. In the first book, it's basically trying to solve other people who are not human. So there's obviously non-humans in this book. You're going to be reading about Nephilims, you're going to be reading about archangels, you're going to be reading about fallen angels, hence the feathers on the front. but then you kind of follow Nora as she realizes that her world is just not normal, that there's a bigger world outside of her little world. So the first book you go through, you have all of that, then you have your following books. Each book has some sort of thrill to it, some sort of something happening where you're trying to figure out and put all the puzzle pieces together, some sort of mystery. So really, really good books. I definitely recommend them. I will say, and it might be because I read the Twilight series right before I jumped into this series, but I will say that I see a lot of similarities between the two. The first book, she's meeting a guy who says he's dangerous, and there is like this battle between if he's good or bad. Well, that's kind of like Twilight. Bella meets a guy, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so then you go into your second book. It kind of follows along with New Moon. And then you get into your third book. I think it kind of follows. It kind of has, it's completely different. You're dealing with different things and different storylines. But I do feel like there's a lot of similarities. So if you do like the Twilight series, I highly recommend that you read this. Now, I did hear a rumor that Paramount Plus is going to be releasing a movie of Hush Hush. I honestly hope that they do. I think it would be a huge hit. If they don't, I think it's a mistake. I honestly think that if they did a series like this, like they did with the Twilight series, it would be a huge hit. Okay, so now getting into it where there might be spoilers, we're going to go through and tell you about each book. So the first book, like I said, you have Nora. She meets Patch. Patch is obviously a fallen angel. She toys with, she wants to be with Patch, but she doesn't want to be with Patch because she does sense there's something bad about Patch. She also has her father was killed, and then she also has a Nephilim. I hope I'm saying that right. I feel like I'm saying that completely wrong, and if I am, I'm so sorry. But she has that person coming into the book trying to kill her. Patch saves her. At the end of the book, he becomes somebody that looks after her, and they start their relationship. So the first book is really good. It introduces you to the characters. You fall in love with the characters. So that is what the first book is about. Crescendo, like I said, similar to New Moon, they have a falling out. There's lots of mysteries going on that you're trying to solve. Why did this person do that? Or why did this happen? All of that Nora's trying to go through. She also has an old friend come in from the past named Scott. You will end up loving him. At first you're like, who's this guy? But you'll end up loving Scott. He is a good guy. And they kind of go through and have different problems going on. So it's a good one. Then the third book is Silence. You guys, I read this in 48 hours. It was so good. There was so much going on. In every chapter, there was a cliffhanger. And so I was like, I have to know what happens. So I would read the next chapter, and then I'd read the next chapter, and then I'd read the next chapter. You get the point. It has a lot of cliffhangers, a lot of action, a lot of stuff where you're screaming at the book going, no, that can't happen. This one's my favorite out of all 4 books. Absolute favorite. Read it so fast. I could actually read it again. Really, really good. So you have your third book, and then the final book. This is where everything kind of comes out that has been leading up through the past 3 books. We're going to start seeing answers in this book, and everything will kind of just play out. You kind of start getting answers in this book, to be honest, but this book, you really start seeing it come to an end. It's really good. The ending has a great, big, thrilling scene that you get to go through, and I liked it. The only thing I will say with the 4th book is I feel like Becca Fitzpatrick, and I could be completely off on this, but I feel like she wasn't ready to end the series. Because in the 4th book, there's so much going on. They have the war going on. They have archangels coming in, blackmailing people. They have like Patch doing his own battles outside of the war that they're having. You have like this witchcraft, devil's craft stuff coming into play. Like there's so much going on in that one book that you're kind of like, wow. Like at one point I was like, did she forget? Like, because like at one point Nora's like hooked on devil's craft, and then it like there's like chapters that go on and you don't hear anything about it, and then all of a sudden it was like, oh yeah, well she's done, she's not going to be on devilcraft anymore, and I'm just like, that's a lot. So I'm not saying anything negative. It was really good. I just feel like the author had so many ideas that she jam packed into one book. So what I will say is that it's very thrilling, and it never, there's never a dull moment. So I really like this series. I do recommend it. It's young romance. Go check it out. Let me know in the comments below if this became a movie. Would you watch it? If you've read this book, tell me what you thought. I want to hear from you. So this one is an oldie but a goodie. It's a throwback book review. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button. If you're not already subscribed to my channel, click the subscribe button and the little bell so you get notified when I post my next video. Thanks for watching.